Hi everyone, we're here at the MDA Promotions event and we're joined by host tonight, Willie Thorne. Willie, thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. It's my third time here in a very few months. We've been here with Gazza, been here with Anthony Joshua, and now I've got the Legends of Darts, which is going to be great fun.
Bit of a drive down for yourself, Dundee last night?
Yes, I was at Dundee last night with Gazza, and I got to Carlisle, decided to have a stop there, and then got back in the car again this morning and drove down to Skegness.
Right, only one place to start in the snooker. The hot topic at the moment is the shot clock. What's your thoughts on it, and do you think that slow players deserve to be fined for the good of the game, or are you completely against it?
I'm definitely an advocate of the shot clock. To be perfectly honest, I think now it needs to be brought in. In fairness, most snooker players, the first shot they see is the shot they need to play. So then all of a sudden they spend the next few minutes messing around. I mean, don't get me wrong, Peter Ebdon has always been like that. So I'm not just picking Peter out because he's been former champion of the world, one of the greatest players of all time. But I think in fairness, it's getting... We're in the entertainment business. I think that's what the term Barry Hearn used, and that's what we're in, the entertainment business. And I think you've got to entertain the fans. So taking 35, 40 seconds a shot, I think most players should be on 20 seconds.
Obviously, Mark Williams winning another world title, such a break between his second and third. Did you ever think it was possible for him to come back to those heights again?
Certainly not. When he dropped out of virtually the top 32 a few years ago, I thought, well, he's obviously not going to be a journeyman because he's far, far too good a player to be that. But I thought winning tournaments had gone. But what he's done in the last year is given everybody above 40, or even the ones that are a bit long in the tooth, a chance now to think, well, if Mark Williams can do it, why can't we? But in fairness, Mark Williams is very much like Mark Selby. He wins scrappy frames, and that's the key thing in snooker. It's all right knocking 100 breaks in all the time. You know, most of the players on tour can do that. But it's when the frames are a little bit scrappy. We're going to talk about Selby, World Championship, best of 35 frames. There's going to be 6 or 7 scrappy frames. Selby will win 99% of those frames, and Mark Williams is very similar.
We spoke to Mark at the recent fishing event, and we asked him, did he want to be world number one? He says no, he doesn't believe the rankings are a true reflection. Do you believe in that yourself as well? Because Ronnie's regarded as still the best player on the planet, but doesn't enter everything.
I think in fairness now, because there's so much snooker, it's very, very difficult. I mean, to be world number one, you've virtually got to play in everything, you know, and win kind of 50-60% of the majors, you know, the 3 or 4 big ones. I think Mark Williams is so laid back now. He wants to play when he wants to play. He enjoys his snooker, he enjoys his family being with him. Listen, if you're in the top 4 or 5 in the world, you're going to earn a very good living. Mark Williams looks like being that for the next 2 or 3 years.
Away from the camera, who's your one to watch for the new season, or one or two that you think will catch people's eye?
I've been very disappointed with the growth of snooker just recently. I don't think we've got any great young players coming through at the minute. I keep expecting Judd Trump to go berserk, and you know, he flatters to deceive a few times. I'm a big fan of Judd Trump. I've known him since he was 12, 13 years of age when we used to have the tournaments at my club in Leicester, and Judd was always over there. Karen Wilson looks like doing pretty well this year, I think. He's very, very consistent. I think that's the key thing now. It's not all about being the flash in the pan. It's about, you know, kind of pacing yourself to get through a season. Karen Wilson's doing that very, very well. Ronnie O'Sullivan, as we know, Ronnie O'Sullivan, he just plays when he wants to play. Has he got another World Championship in? I don't know. The way he kind of spreads out his schedule, I'm not too sure whether he can compete at that length of time. Obviously, if he does, he's going to win the championship because he's, without doubt, I still think he's the best player.
Best player ever?
Yes, I was in Scotland last night. People ask you the same thing when you're in Scotland. Stephen Hendry, Ronnie O'Sullivan or Steve Davis. I always do the analogy, if it was played scrappy of those 3, Steve Davis would win every time. If it was just pure break building and bashing the balls about, it's a real toss-up between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Stephen Hendry. But at their very, very best, I would plump for O'Sullivan.
You said about snooker being an entertainment business now. In the peak, in the 80s, you had characters. Now the game doesn't have those characters. Is that detriment to the sport that those characters aren't there?
I see where you're coming from, but in fairness now, in our era, we haven't got as many tournaments, and obviously we had to do the exhibition circuit and things like that, so people developed a personality. These players are not bothered about the exhibition circuit. They're earning so much money throughout the year, there's no need to go and play the clubs. And we used to do the holiday camps, we used to do the working men's clubs, conservative clubs, so you had to have a rapport with the public. I must admit, I'm worried about the lack of characters in the game. I think we could do with another Jimmy White or another Judd Trump or another Ronnie. There's going to be one somewhere, and hopefully it's in the next couple of years.
Last one, this is a very popular one on social media. Did you ever get an explanation why you were dropped from the BBC coverage?
I was very, very disappointed. When I say dropped from the BBC coverage, I'm still doing the Welsh Open. I was absolutely shocked, to be honest. I mean, I must admit, when they had Ebdon and McManus instead of me, McManus, in fairness, did very well. Peter's a good friend of mine, but if he's better than me, I'm a Dutchman, but that's another story. Obviously, whether it's because we're getting a bit long in the tooth, they laid Virgo off as well for the UK. I personally think I'm still one of the best commentators, but obviously BBC don't. Graham Fry, wants to use me, but unfortunately that's not his final decision. It's the BBC hierarchy. Whether it's because I had a little misdemeanour where allegedly I thought the microphone was off and I said a naughty word. Whether that had something to do with it, I don't know. But honestly, the general public, the Twitter thing went a little bit berserk at times. I don't know, you're not everybody's cup of tea. At the end of the day, Dennis is not everybody's cup of tea, Virgo's nobody's cup of tea. But on the whole, I think people like the way I talk about the game and the way it should be played in break building. Undoubtedly, as far as break building comments are concerned, I think I'm up there with the very, very best. Obviously not necessarily on the safety department. But, when they're in and around the black, it's very rarely I call the wrong shot. And obviously I can be too critical sometimes, so whether that's one of the reasons BBC decided to go down the nicety route. Listen, everything with Peter Ebdon and McManus, what a great shot, this is lovely, And in fairness, it's not always lovely, and if they play a bad shot, I remember once Stephen Hendry having the right up with me, he played Danny Fowler in a tournament in Scotland, and he beat Danny Fowler 5-4, and Hendry made 4 centuries in the match. And I said, on air, because I was like the head man at Sky then, I said, well, apart from the 4 centuries, Hendry played terrible. Because in the other 6 frames, he just took liberties. And this game is you cannot take liberties at this game. So if you can't say it as it is, it's not right.
Willie, absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us.
My pleasure.